Greetings everyone, this is Collectibles Euphoria with a review of the S.H.Figuarts Tuxedo Mask, the silent protagonist and love interest of Sailor Moon, who is also known as Mamoru Chiba, Tuxedo Common, Prince Endymion, among many others. Tuxedo Mask has been one of the most iconic characters throughout the Sailor Moon franchise and is one of the most anticipated characters, well deserving of a figure to go alongside Sailor Moon. Stay tuned! Tuxedo Mask is the alternate identity of Mamoru Chiba and Prince Endymion. He has acquired many forms throughout the series, but he is well known in the Sailor Moon world and hardcore fans as Tuxedo Mask. His character and overall appearance is well known in the anime world, and I, for one, could not be any happier to be able to finally own one of my favorite anime male characters. The quality and presentation of the box is generic to all other boxes previously released, with a window-style box to showcase a figure on display, and with his promotional images seen throughout the box itself. It bears his name on the side with a toy animation certificate of license grant, Sailor Moon logo, S.H.Figuarts, Tamashii Nations, and Bandai logos in the front of the box. The color of the box is a mixture of red and black, which are his signature color schemes. The box is roughly 8 inches tall and a little over 3 inches wide, which is fairly wide compared to other Sailor Senshi boxes. The box is glossy and reflective and provides a good representation of the figure. The back of the box provides more visual display of the figure presented, and as well as different variations, dynamics, and accessories available for this character. Packaging-wise is clever and functional, providing a double clamshell case to safely store and organize the accessories included. Tuxedo Mask makes an awesome plastic representation of his animation counterpart. The silhouette is clean and the proportions are mostly true to the original character design. Paint and general coloring are on point, capturing the essence of his character. No evidence of overspray, irregular texture, and noticeable undercoats are visible throughout the figure, even down to the smallest button, which is surprisingly perfect. The combination of clean aesthetics and superb sculpted details defy the usual quality control evident on some S.H.Figuarts figures, and I am truly amazed on the overall presentation created for this figure. All the design elements of his attire are well represented, which provides him a tall posture and a strong profile. The harshness of the wrinkles were minimized to keep in line with its exquisite clean-cut design. Proportions are accurate, and the paint details are almost perfect, though some form of shading would have been greatly appreciated. He stands at about 6.7 inches in scale with the other Sailor soldiers. Moving onward to his overall costume design, he wears a top black hat with a grayish-blue lining closer to the brim of the hat, exactly how it appears in the anime. Getting it out of his head can be a little exasperating at first, since the entire head comes off as well, since it is still fairly new, but easily loosens up after a few attempts of removing it. The top hat only connects to one of his interchangeable head, but is not really an issue because it can easily be interchanged with a different face mold at one's disposal. His haircut is on point with his anime counterpart and would have delivered perfectly if shading has been added, as well as more sculpted details on the back area of his hair to make it appear more realistic, which is more evident on the interchangeable head without his top hat. Other than that, the head sculpt translates real well to his animation counterpart. The overall shading of his coat and pants is matte, and would have been nice if some faint glossy areas were added to give it a defined texture. The edges of the coat are made of soft, pliable material, which adds up to a nice overall feel of the coat itself. His white shirt and vest is also nicely detailed, providing a good contrast to his black and red color schemes. His coat has the same grayish-blue lining found on his hat, as well as in his fold-over cuffs. The golden buttons are nicely painted, which I really appreciate considering how minuscule the areas that were painted. The paint details and sculpt of the pants were on point as well, and despite of the cut made to the back of his knees to give him more joint flexibility, I find it hardly distracting and doesn't affect the overall enjoyment, but instead gives him more dynamics and posability needed to pull off some of his iconic stance and poses, which I would have much preferred, and definitely this figure doesn't disappoint. The shoes are plain and simple and is well constructed, adding up to his great static and dynamic standing posture. This section is dedicated for his cape, since this design element is somehow new to this line, though I would say some dynamics and construction details were already borrowed from the previous designs. The top part can be easily removed and replaced back to the peg on the hole designated to it, depending on what type of look you're aiming for. The cape is painted entirely red on the front, and completely black from behind, which is how his cape exactly appears in the anime. The wrinkles provided a more natural look for a more dynamic display. The cape is divided into 3 sections, part of which is to give him more extensive display of the dynamics of the cape for a wind-blown effect. It has 3 peg attachments, the top peg for the top part that attach towards his shoulder. The middle peg is for attaching to his back, and the bottom one has a hole for the attachment to his display stand. Each of the flaps have its own hinge joint, which allows greater flexibility for displaying some of his signature poses. It can spread apart and can move up and down for a more extensive movement. Due to its flexibility, the outer sections of the cape can collapse to imitate a static pose. The only trade-off to this kind of articulation display is it leaves a gap visible when the figure is positioned sideways, which is somehow distracting. Other than that, I believe this design is crucial to help translate his dynamic movements and provides unlimited posability function. Tuxedo Mask figure comes with extensive interchangeable hands and faces, which serves individual purpose for display standpoint. Accessories are also fairly decent, and the inclusions are indispensable for appropriate display and helps highlight some of his iconic poses. For a bit of diversity, he has a total of 4 interchangeable faces, one with his default face, a face with his eyes visible from the mask, a stoic face, and a calm face with eyes closed. He comes with 2 head variations, which is first for the Sailor Moon line, I guess to accommodate the inclusion of his top hat, which I think is a brilliant idea because you can use all the interchangeable faces with his top hat on or without it, giving you options for a more extensive display as you see fit. He comes with a wide variety of interchangeable hands, a pair of default clenched fists, a pair of splayed hands, a pair of relaxed straight hands, a pair of slightly open hands, a pair of hands for holding his rose, and a pair for holding his cane. No tuxedo mask getup is complete without his trademark red rose, which is glossy and is nicely sculpted for a fairly small accessory. He also comes with a black cane for his weapon, which fits snugly on his hands. Another accessory is Star Locket, which is surprisingly detailed despite of its little size, and it also comes as a gold and metallic finish. Another good inclusion is a black peg to cover up the hole on his back when not attached to his cape. He comes with his own unique display stand, which is a square translucent black with a rose design and his name written on it. It doesn't match with the other Sailor Scout stands. However, I completely understand the difference made for a more appropriate masculine look to it. It comes with a clamp, which can be removed if you want to use a peg attachment towards his cape. This round up all the accessories and contents of this figure. For the most part, articulation is great. He has decent range on his neck, coming from a ball joint, and probably one of the best head articulation I have seen from this line. He has a joint on the base of his neck, which provides only a very limited range. He has a dual shoulder joint, which helps pull his shoulder up and down, coming from the hinge joint. He has a bicep swivel, coming from the ball joint attached to his arm, and the 360 degrees movement comes from the ball joint attached from his torso. He has a hinge joint that bends the elbow over 90 degrees and a very minimal elbow swivel. He has a standard S.H.Figuarts ball joint on his wrists. He has no mid-torso articulation, which is a downside, but I guess it generates more stability and strong body build for a more dynamic poses. He has good waist articulation, making ab crunch possible, and back extension. He has a little bit side-to-side movements on his torso, coming from the waist articulation. He has two jointed hips, the hinge joint responsible for hip hiking motions, and the ball joint responsible for the range in all planes of movements. He has a single knee joint, which provides a very good knee bending, but sad to say, he lacks ankle and toe articulation, which I think is a missed opportunity to assist with more dynamic movements. S.H.Figuarts is definitely stepping up their game based on Tuxedo Mask overall appearance and joint articulations, adopting some Figma design to incorporate the components needed for this figure. His overall look is well captivated and captures his anime likeness exceptionally well. All the major components and structure design is implemented well and helps to recreate moments of the show. This figure delivers on the established standard and technically has all the components for a great articulation, except for the ankle joint, which is completely lacking, if none at all. Despite of some flaws mentioned earlier, this shouldn't stop you from purchasing this figure if you are interested in getting one, since this is probably one of the best figures S.H.Figuarts made for the Sailor Moon line in terms of overall aesthetics and joint articulation. Next pit stop would be the introduction of his future daughter, Sailor Chibi Moon, to complete the royal family line. That's all for me to say, and the future is shining bright for the upcoming figure to complete the entire Sailor Senshi line, the addition of Sailor Pluto, bound to release this year. Have a great day ahead. Bye!